Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the Wednesday's Regional News. We start with news from Brazil. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has challenged the election he lost last month to leftist rival Luiz Lula da Silva, arguing that votes from some machines should be invalidated in a complaint that electoral authorities met with initial skepticism. Bolsonaro's claims seemed unlikely to get far as Lula's victory has been ratified by the Superior Electoral Court (TSE) and acknowledged by Brazil's leading politicians and international allies. Still, it could fuel a small but committed protest movement that has so far refused to accept the result. The Supreme Court Justice who currently leads the TSE said in a ruling that Bolsonaro's right-wing electoral coalition, which filed a complaint, must present its full audit for both rounds of last month's vote within 24 hours, or he would reject it. Brazil's currency deepened losses after news of the electoral complaint, closing 1.3% weaker against the US dollar. The currency was already suffering from investors concerned about Lula's suspending plan and economic policymakers. Fernando Bergallo, head of the operations at FB Capital, was among many who said Bolsonaro's bid to challenge the election results seemed unlikely to get far. We now look at news from Jamaica. Jamaican-born New York-based attorney Audrey Thomas has been disbarred from practicing law in the state of New York, arising from a case of misappropriation of funds belonging to a client. The New York State Supreme Court's Grievance Committee announced last week that effective November 9th, Thomas, 53, can no longer present herself as an attorney in the state. A statement from the committee outlined that Thomas pocketed some $630,000 out of $770,000 that was being held in a bank from a real estate deal for her client Rhea Murray. Thomas was accused of making 12 improper cash withdrawals from the Bank of America account, violating the Rule 1.15a of professional conduct. Thomas' law office is located on Francis Lewis Boulevard in Queens. In her disbarment defense, Thomas conceded that she used Murray's fund to promote herself as an author, a radio show host on WVIP 93.5 FM in New York. She also stated that her use of the funds was authorized by Murray, whom she claimed she had a long-time personal relationship. In her testimony during the hearing, Murray denied such claims. The committee ruled that Thomas failed to honor her obligations and misappropriated substantial funds entrusted to her in the Madison Street property sale. Thomas on Wednesday said that she plans to challenge the ruling. "I am filing an appeal against the disbarment as some of the funds were illegally spent and used as payment for the 32 cases I handled for Murray. The only thing is that I didn't have a signed document from Murray authorizing the payments," she asserted. And finally, another story from Brazil. The United States is looking to crack down on environmental criminals behind surging deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon, using penalty sanctions to tackle climate change more aggressively. The plan represents a major shift in Washington's strategy to combat global warming, adding the bite of direct sanctions to its toolkit of tax-incentive, diplomatic nods. Deforestation in Brazil hit a 15-year high under outgoing President Jair Bolsonaro, who rolled back environmental protection and pushed for more mining and commercial farming in the Amazon, a crucial buffer against climate change. Leftist President-elect Luiz Lula da Silva will take office on January 1st and has already pledged to end deforestation at COP27 Climate Summit in Egypt last week. In conversations with U.S. officials, Lula and his allies have stressed his focus on tackling climate change, yet there are still question marks about how he views the plan, which is in its early stages. Lula believes Washington held Brazilian prosecutors jailed him on graft charges and has often chaffed him, a long arm of the U.S. law enforcement. The U.S. plan began taking shape in June at the Summit of the Americans in Los Angeles, which the United States and Brazil announced a joint task force to fight illegal deforestation in the Amazon rainforest, a U.S. source working on the plan said. U.S. officials in Brazil and the United States have already begun the process of identifying and investigating specific targets with potential punishment ranging from visa blacklist to global Magnitsky sanctions. Thank you for watching. I'm TIANA.